it's very hard to link it to tangible short-term benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the work that is being done again because somebody in the leadership role of the company, the founder, believes that it must be done this way.
Yeah.
And they're willing to sort of sacrifice a part of their earnings to ensure that those tenets are being met.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's a scalable approach? Do you think that eventually, as we keep evolving as a society, that reality is going to have more weight than our current perspective of if it's hard to measure
Mm-hmm.
and quantify it, then it's probably going to not be in the top of my operational priorities?
Yeah. You know, I think that's a great question, because I think it depends on your version of on what long-term versus short-term gains are. And, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what your plan is. Is this a legacy that you want your children to take it over and run it the same way? Like, we have businesses like that here that are fifth, sixth generation Florida companies. But also, is it, I want to retire and just enjoy my life and exit? And I think the founders of B-Lab, like, they sold a valuable sports athletic wear company, and One, I think was the name of it. And they watched it get taken apart. Their culture was taken apart. And that's where they created the B-Lab certification, was to allow that to be ingrained. So that it wouldn't be easy to take apart if a company transferred ownership. I think another part of that, though, is the macro side. Is you can have a number of companies doing this and setting examples, but how do you start to set a broader cultural example that this is not only a functional way of doing business, but really the better and preferred way of doing business in a community, in a society, to keep a society functioning? Because, we still want that cohesiveness, and that has to be should be a long-term goal of any business owner, that I want a business that's operating in a stable environment, and a stable environment takes a stable society. A stable society takes a stable paycheck and company and loyalty. And so there needs to be a two-way loyalty there. And so I think then, how do we make a new normal out of kind of going back to these old school values that communities support businesses and those businesses support those communities?
Right. Well, that's a very good point, because I think our notion of what long-term looks like as a society is evolving fairly fast.
Yeah.
We're talking right now that we're probably going to be the first centennial generation.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 300 years ago, your medium age of mortality was what, 50s, 60s, something like that, if you were lucky. So we couldn't, and if you take it a little bit back in time, just a couple of thousands of years ago, the concept of building for the future was really non-existent, because we couldn't think long term.
Yeah.
We were always in survival mode.
It's funny how, well, I would say we weren't always in survival mode as much as before the kind of industrial age, we were on a cyclical mode. So we knew the time was proceeding, but we didn't have contracts to, hey, I promise I'm going to do this later. Like, that was the advent of writing started building those things. But we lived, and you look at indigenous populations, they live in cycles with nature.
Yeah.
This is starting to kind of trickle up again. Like, I personally, I follow moon cycles personally, and I kind of do journaling and I do meditations. And I also have really worked the last 3 years to shift my mindset from January 1st, the Gregorian calendar first of the year, being where I push, to giving myself another 6 weeks of winter, to quote a groundhog. But this idea that winter, for every other living aspect of this planet, winter is dormant. Yet because we have electricity and modern technology and these institutions, January 1st is supposed to be where you push forward and plow through. And so what I've really started doing is being a lot more tender with myself in January and going, wait a second, I'm still planting. There's a Rumi quote that the roots are riotous in the winter underneath ground. And so, there's still this energy, but then also allowing yourself to go to really come out of the holidays and like enjoy them, reflect on them, and still build. So I don't know if I got off tangent there a little bit, but that's part of this. We've been disconnected from it.